Hi there. Welcome to Stories with Merv. I know me wearing a tie might be strange for a lot of you who haven't seen me in a tie. I haven't really seen me in a tie for some time outside of a funeral. And I used to dress in these things all the time. With the tone of the show and where it's going, I wanted to try out something new, at least for a few times. Give the old haggard professor look in, because that's what I thought I was going to do when to be a haggard professor talking about stories. Um, and this may be my way to do that. As always, put us in your coffee house rotation. Please come buy books with us. It is incredibly hard out there right now. And I understand that everyone is feeling the pinch. My gosh, we have felt the pinch the entire time. We started, well, we got closed before we could even start because of the pandemic. Then with the handling of the pandemic, then the handling of the economy, then tariffs, then wars. I understand everyone's feeling the pinch, and it is a miracle that we are still open, a miracle produced by God through people. And we keep asking you to keep us going. Okay, we're going to continue Grimm's Fairy Tales today. Not starting, only one today, will be Little Red Cap, or as we know, Little Red Riding Hood. So let's get in our coffee, our tea, our water, and let's read this story together. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all by her grandmother. And there was nothing she would not have given to the child. Once she gave her a little red cap of velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So she was called Little Red Cap. One day, her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Cap. Here's a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She's ill and weak, and they will do her good. Set out before it gets hot, and when you are going, walk nicely and quietly. Do not run off the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will get nothing. And when you go into a room, don't forget to say good morning, and don't peep into every corner before you do." "I will take great care, Little Red Cap," said Little Red Cap to her mother, and gave her hand on it. The grandmother lived out in the wood, half a league from the village, and just as Little Red Cap entered the wood, a wolf met her. Red Cap did not know what a wicked creature he was, and was not at all afraid of him. "Good day, Little Red Cap," he said. "Thank you kindly, wolf." "Whither away so early, Little Red Cap?" "To my grandmother's." "What have you in your apron?" "Cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day, so poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her stronger." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Cap?" "Good quarter, a league farther on in the wood. Her house stands under the three large oak trees. The nut trees are just below, and surely you must know it," replied Little Red Cap. The wolf thought to himself, "What a tender young creature! What a nice plump mouthful! She will be better to eat. She will be better to eat than the old woman. I must act craftily as to catch them both." So he walked for a short time by the side of Little Red Cap, and then he said, "See, Little Red Cap, how pretty the flowers are about here. Why do you not look around? I believe, too, that you do not hear how sweetly the little birds are singing. You will walk gravely along as if you were going to school, while everything else out in here in the wood is merry." Little Red Cap raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and there through the trees, and pretty flowers growing everywhere, she thought, "Suppose I take grandmother a fresh nosegay, and that would please her too. It is so early in the day that I shall still get there in good time." And so she ran from the path into the wood to look for flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one and further on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the woods. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house and knocked at the door. "Who's there?" "Little Red Cap," replied the wolf. "She's bringing cake and wine. Open the door." "Lift the latch," called the grandmother. "I am too weak and cannot get up." The wolf lifted the latch. The door sprang open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes and dressed himself in her cap, and laid himself in bed and drew the curtains. Little Red Cap, however, had been running about picking flowers, and when she had gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on the way to her. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself, "Oh dear, how uneasy I feel today. And at other times I like being with grandmother so much." She called out, "Good morning," but received no answer. So she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled far over her face and looking very strange. "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have." "Better to hear you with, my child," was the reply. "But grandmother, what big teeth you have," she said. "The better to see you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what large hands you have." "The better to hug you with." "Oh, but grandmother, what a big, terrible mouth you have." "The better to eat you with." And scarcely had the wolf said this, than with one bound he was out of bed and swallowed up Red Cap. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down again in bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loud. The huntsman was just passing the house and thought to himself, "How the old woman is snoring! I must see if she wants anything." So he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw the wolf was lying in it. "Do I find you here, old sinner?" said he. "I have long sought you." Then, just as he was going to fire at him, it occurred to him that the wolf might have devoured the grandmother, and that she still might be saved. So he did not fire, but took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf. When he made 2 snips, he saw the little red cap shining, and then he made 2 snips more, and how the little girl sprang out crying, "Ah, how frightened I have been! How dark it was inside that wolf." And after that, the aged grandmother came out alive also, but scarcely able to breathe. Red Cap, however, quickly fetched great stones, which they filled the wolf's belly. And when he woke, he wanted to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he collapsed at once and fell dead. Then all 3 were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine which Red Cap had brought and revived, but Red Cap thought to herself, "As long as I live, I will never by myself leave the path to run into the wood when my mother has forbidden me to do so." It is also related that when Red Cap was again taking cakes to her old grandmother, another wolf spoke to her and tried to entice her from the path. Red Cap, however, was on her guard, went straight forward on her way, and told her grandmother that she had met the wolf, and that he had said good morning to her, but with such a wicked look in his eyes that if they had not been on the public road, she was certain he would have eaten her up. "Well," said the grandmother, "we will shut the door that he may not come in." Soon after, the wolf knocked and cried, "Open the door, grandmother. I am Little Red Cap, and I bring you some cakes." But they did not speak or open the door, so the Greybeard stole twice or thrice around the house, and at last jumped on the roof, intending to wait until Red Cap went home in the evening, and steal after her and devour her in the darkness. But the grandmother saw what was in his thought in front of the house, and was a great stone trough. So she said to the child, "Take the pail, Red Cap. I made some sausages yesterday, so carry the water which I boiled them in to the trough." Red Cap carried the great trough. Was quite full. Carried until the trough was great full. Then the smell of the sausages reached the wolf, and he sniffed and peeped down, and at last stretched out his neck so far that he could not keep his footing and began to slip. And he slipped down from the roof, straight into the great trough, and was drowned. But Red Cap went home joyously, and no one ever did anything to harm her again. Such a strange little tale. Such a strange little tale, as was with all of these little fables of Grimm Brothers folklore. And sorry about the bad voice. I was trying to do Little German Girl, and I was flowing into my voice for it's the boy from The Old Man and the Sea. Can't remember his actual name. But thank you. We'll have a story up, another Grimm story up, around this time tomorrow. So see you then with Stories with Myth. Okay, be cool and bye.